In the history of professional wrestling, the most electrifying moments have always been tied to the names of the stars who lit up the ring. But behind the bright lights and thunderous cheers lies a darker, tragic side, the fatal accidents that claimed the lives of those who gave everything for their passion. Each loss left behind not only immeasurable grief for family, friends, and colleagues, but also a lasting scar in the hearts of fans. These are the heartbreaking stories of wrestlers who tragically lost their lives in the ring. Aguo, the tragedy that shook the ring in 2015. On March 20, 2015, the wrestling world was rocked by a devastating event that still haunts fans today. In Mexico, Perro Aguo Jr., one of Lucha Libre's brightest stars, stepped into a highly anticipated tag team match alongside Rey Mysterio, the legendary highflyer. No one could have imagined that this bout would mark not only the end of Aguo's career, but also his life. The match was thrilling, with the crowd roaring at every fast, powerful, and spectacular move. When Rey Mysterio delivered a familiar dropkick, everyone thought it was simply the setup for his signature 619. Aguo was sent into the ropes, a scene wrestling fans had seen countless times before. But instead of bouncing back safely, he collapsed, his neck striking the ropes head-on. In an instant, Aguo's body went limp in an unsettling way. What made the moment even more tragic was that the audience, and even the wrestlers in the ring, believed it was just selling the move, a common act to heighten drama. Mysterio continued the match. The crowd kept cheering, unaware that a real disaster was unfolding before their eyes. It wasn't until Aguo remained motionless on the ropes that people realized something was terribly wrong. Medical staff rushed to the ring and quickly carried him out. He was taken to a nearby hospital, but it was too late. Despite doctors' efforts, Aguo passed away just hours after the match. The death of Perro Aguo Jr. left a painful void for his loved ones and fans alike, serving as a grim reminder of how fragile life is inside the squared circle. Wrestling is often celebrated as a blend of athleticism and performance art, but this tragedy exposed the ever-present danger behind the spectacle. That fateful night in 2015 became one of the darkest moments in modern wrestling history, forever etched into the memories of fans worldwide. Gary Albbright, a heart that stopped in the ring. Gary Albbright was a familiar name to fans who followed wrestling in the 1990s. Born in the United States, he competed in major promotions across the US and Canada, including the legendary Stampede Wrestling run by Stu Hart. But it was in Japan where Albbright truly shined. There, he quickly became a fan favorite thanks to his amateur wrestling-inspired style, powerful, precise, and devastatingly effective. His relentless suplexes and crushing submission holds made him a feared competitor in UWF International and later in All Japan Pro Wrestling. On January 7, 2000, during a break from his tours in Japan, Gary accepted an appearance at a World Extreme Wrestling event, an organization run by his father-in-law, wrestling legend Afa Anoa'i. It seemed like nothing more than a friendly exhibition, but no one knew it would be the final moment of his career. In his match against Lucifer Grimm, real name Bill Owens, Albbright took a routine cutter. But instead of getting back up or reacting as usual, he suddenly collapsed and stopped moving. Grimm, a devoted fan of Albbright himself, quickly realized something was wrong. To prevent chaos in the ring, he lay down and allowed Gary's lifeless arm to fall across him, completing the pinfall as planned. Immediately afterward, Owens frantically called for help as panic spread among the crowd and wrestlers. Another performer on the show, who had been trained as an EMT, rushed into the ring and performed CPR until paramedics arrived. Tragically, their efforts were in vain. At the hospital, Gary Albbright was pronounced dead from a sudden heart attack at just 36 years old. The autopsy later revealed that he had diabetes, an enlarged heart, and severely blocked arteries, conditions silently damaging his health, of which he was unaware. His death sent shockwaves through the wrestling world, leaving behind an irreplaceable void for friends, colleagues, and fans everywhere. Oro, the rising star who fell too soon in Mexico. Oro, born Jesus Javier Hernandez Silva, was one of the brightest young prospects in Mexico's early 1990s wrestling scene. Coming from a Lucha Libre family, he was seen as the next big hope, the one destined to carry on the legacy of past legends. With his fast-paced, innovative style and spectacular aerial maneuvers, Oro was often compared to Rey Mysterio Jr. By the age of 21, he had already captured the hearts of countless fans. His future seemed written in stone, to become a top star in EMLL, Mexico's oldest wrestling promotion. But tragedy struck just as his career was beginning to blossom. The fateful night came during a 6-man tag match at Arena Coliseo in Mexico City. It was supposed to be just another routine show, nothing out of the ordinary. Yet it would be remembered forever in lucha libre history. Oro took a standard open-hand chop to the chest, a simple, harmless move. But instead of taking the bump normally, he decided to sell it in dramatic fashion, hoping to add more excitement to the match. He threw himself backward, crashing headfirst onto the mat, much like Japanese legend Kenta Kobashi once did against Steve, Dr. Death Williams. It was a daring choice, but also a dangerous one. Upon impact, Oro's body immediately went limp. He collapsed motionless, his breathing shallow, as fellow wrestlers and fans watched in horror. Although he was quickly carried out of the ring while the match continued, his condition didn't improve. Before the ambulance even arrived, the young man's heart stopped beating. Oro was pronounced dead at only 21 years old, leaving the entire lucha libre community in shock. His passing was not only a devastating loss for his family and fans, but also a sobering reminder of the razor-thin line between performance and real danger in wrestling. Oro died with a bright career still ahead of him, remembered forever as a gifted young star whose light was extinguished far too soon, a tragic chapter in the history of Mexican wrestling. Larry Cameron, tragedy in the German ring. Lethal Larry Cameron was an athlete of unshakable determination, who first began his sporting career in professional football. He played in both the NFL and CFL, but a severe injury forced him off the gridiron. Refusing to abandon his passion for competition, Cameron turned to wrestling, where his powerful build and strong will quickly made him stand out. A former bodybuilding champion, his impressive physique caught the eye of promoter Ed Sharkey. Soon after, he was sent to the legendary Dungeon of Stu Hart, the training ground of countless legends. In Stampede Wrestling, Cameron rose as a major star, becoming the final North American heavyweight champion before the promotion closed its doors. His career then brought him valuable opportunities: a tryout with WWE, a run in WCW teaming with Butch Reed under Teddy Long's guidance, appearances in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and eventually a stable home in Europe with Otto Wanza's Catch Wrestling Association. Behind his image as a powerhouse, however, Cameron carried a hidden heart condition. At one point, he was even barred from competing in New Jersey due to irregular heartbeat, a warning sign of the tragedy to come. On December 13, 1993, in Bremen, Germany, during a match against Tony Sinclair, Cameron suffered a fatal heart attack after the 4th round. He collapsed once the bout paused and was carried backstage. Fellow wrestlers and medics tried desperately to revive him, but before an ambulance could arrive, Larry Cameron had passed away at just 41 years old. His death left behind deep sorrow, as Cameron was still at the peak of his career and could have gone much further had fate not intervened so cruelly. King Kong Kirk, the giant who fell after a fatal splash. In the 1970s and 80s, the name King Kong Kirk became a fixture on British television through World of Sport. Born Malcolm Kirk, he was originally a rugby player before turning to professional wrestling. With his massive frame, hard-hitting style, and intimidating look, Kirk quickly rose as one of the most menacing giants of joint promotions. At his peak, he shared the ring with legends like Andre the Giant and Bret Hart, and often teamed with the notorious Giant Haystacks, forming one of the most feared heavyweight duos of that era. But his storied career came to a tragic end on August 23, 1987, at the Hippodrome in Great Yarmouth. That night, Kirk teamed with King Kendo, better known as Kendo Nagasaki, against Big Daddy and Greg Valentine. Hundreds of fans packed the venue, unaware they were about to witness disaster. During the match, Kirk took Big Daddy's trademark splash, his signature finishing move. But instead of getting back up as usual, Kirk suddenly turned blue and collapsed motionless on the mat. Wrestlers and ringside staff rushed in, performing CPR and chest compressions. Despite their frantic efforts, nothing worked. When he was finally carried to the hospital, it took 8 wrestlers to lift him onto a stretcher. Kirk was already gone. He was 51 years old. An investigation later concluded that no one was at fault, as Kirk had an underlying heart condition and may have died before the splash even landed. Still, the death of King Kong Kirk haunted the British wrestling scene, serving as a grim reminder of how fragile life can be, even for giants of the ring. Owen Hart, the tragedy that fell from the sky. In the history of professional wrestling, there are moments of heartbreak that silence the world. None is more unforgettable than the tragic death of Owen Hart, the gifted younger brother of Bret Hitman Hart and a proud member of the legendary Hart family. Owen was celebrated as an outstanding technical wrestler, always delivering exciting matches, while outside the ring he was humble and kind. His passing was not only a devastating shock but also one of the darkest tragedies in WWE history. In 1999, at the Over the Edge event, Owen returned under the persona of the Blue Blazer, a quirky superhero character designed to entertain the crowd. His entrance was carefully staged. He would be lowered from the rafters by cable, slowly descending to the ring in a comedic fashion. But this planned spectacle turned into an unimaginable disaster. While suspended roughly 78 feet above the ground, the release mechanism of his harness triggered too early. In an instant, Owen lost control and plummeted. His body struck the turnbuckle, the steel-framed corner of the ring, before collapsing to the mat. It all happened so quickly that most of the audience believed it was part of the act, until they saw him lying motionless. Medical staff rushed to the ring, performing emergency care before transporting him to the hospital in critical condition. Sadly, it was too late. Owen Hart died at just 34 years old, leaving behind a career at its peak and a family expecting his safe return after the show. His death created an irreplaceable void for his loved ones, fellow wrestlers, and fans around the world. It also served as a painful reminder that behind the bright lights and grand performances, there are risks so real they sometimes demand the ultimate price. Owen Hart is forever remembered not only as a gifted performer, but also as a symbol of life's fragility inside the squared circle. Plum Marico, the tragedy of a brave warrior. In the world of Japanese women's wrestling, the name Plum Marico, real name Yumida Mariko, is forever tied to a heartbreaking end. On March 16, 1997, during a JWP tag team match in Hiroshima, disaster struck. Her opponent, Mayumi Ozaki, delivered her signature Liger Bomb. But instead of getting back up, Mariko remained on the mat, her breathing irregular. At first, the crowd thought she was selling the move, but the unsettling sound of snoring from her body revealed the truth. The match was immediately stopped, as teammates and fans watched in panic while medical staff rushed in. She was taken to the hospital and underwent emergency brain surgery that very night, but she never regained consciousness. At only 27, the career and life of this resilient wrestler came to a tragic end. Honoring her father's wishes, no autopsy was performed. Still, many believe the cause was a brain abscess and fractured skull brought on by years of accumulated injuries. What makes the story even more painful is that Mariko had often complained about declining health before the accident. Colleagues noticed she was frequently exhausted and no longer at full strength. Yet, with her determination and love for the audience, she continued to wrestle, ignoring the warning signs. That final blow was simply the breaking point, the culmination of the long trail of damage her body had endured. Her passing not only left fans in mourning, but also served as a harsh reminder of the grave risks hidden within this unforgiving sport. Moondog Spot, a tragic death in the ring. In the 1980s, WWE saw the colorful rise of the Moondogs. With their wild beards, ripped jeans, and chewed-up bones in hand, Moondog Spot and his partner Rex created an odd but unforgettable image. Together they captured the WWE Tag Team Championship and became known for their chaotic brawls, cementing themselves as a quirky symbol of that era. Even after leaving WWE, Spot remained active on the independent circuit, leaving a strong legacy. His feud alongside Cujo against Jerry Lawler and Jeff Jarrett in Memphis in 1992 was even honored as Feud of the Year, proving that his appeal never faded. But fate dealt him a cruel blow. On November 29, 2003, at the King's Special Birthday Bash in Memphis, Spot, real name Larry Wayne Booker, took part in a wild concession stand brawl, teaming with Moondog Puppy Love against 3 other duos, including the legendary Rock and Roll Express. The rowdy atmosphere suddenly shifted when his knee buckled in an unusual way. The referee checked on him, and Spot insisted he was fine. Moments later, he collapsed in the middle of the ring before a stunned crowd. Medical staff rushed in immediately, joined by colleagues and family in panic at ringside. Despite their desperate attempts to revive him, nothing could be done. Larry Wayne Booker passed away at the age of 51 from a heart attack, leaving behind grief for the wrestling world and fans who loved the eccentric yet captivating presence of Moondog Spot. Mitsuharu Misawa, the fateful end of the 5-Star Machine. Mitsuharu Misawa was not only a national treasure of Japan, but also one of the greatest wrestlers the sport has ever seen. Fans affectionately called him the five-star machine, as nearly all of his matches were considered masterpieces. His career began in 1981 as Tiger Mask 2, carrying on the legacy of the legendary original. But it wasn't until he unmasked in 1990 that Misawa truly stepped into the spotlight, building an empire of his own. Alongside Kenta Kobashi, Toshiaki Kawada, and Akira Ta, he formed the Four Pillars of Heaven, the group that defined Purorisu. Their battles were fierce, dramatic, brutal, yet deeply artistic. Matches that moved crowds while draining Misawa's body with accumulated injuries year after year. The tragedy struck on June 13, 2009, during a GHC Tag Team Championship match at Pro Wrestling Noah. After taking what seemed like a routine back suplex, Misawa collapsed and lay motionless on the mat. The arena fell silent as medical personnel rushed to his side. Despite prolonged CPR and resuscitation efforts, the legend could not be saved. He passed away at just 46 years old. While his family never disclosed the official cause, many reports suggested a cervical spinal injury ended his life. His passing not only marked the end of a legendary career, but also left an unfillable void in the hearts of wrestling fans around the world. Silver King, a heartbreaking tragedy in a fateful match. Silver King, born Cesar Gonzalez, was one of the most prominent lucha libre stars of the 1990s. Coming from a wrestling family as the son of the legendary Dr. Wagner, he quickly proved himself inside the ring. Not only did he rise to fame in Mexico, but he also made a lasting impact in Japan, where he competed under both personas, Silver King and the third incarnation of Black Tiger. His fast-paced, technical style always delivered pure excitement to fans. In the United States, he was best remembered for his time in WCW. Yet Silver King's career extended beyond the squared circle. In 2006, he gained worldwide recognition when he portrayed Ramses, the arrogant villain, in the movie Nacho Libre alongside Jack Black. That role brought Gonzalez's name to a broader audience, even among those unfamiliar with lucha libre. But his glory ended in tragedy. On May 11, 2019, during a Lucha Libre London event in Camden, Silver King stepped back into the ring against Juventud Guerrera. Although he had passed a medical check in Mexico, it was later suggested he had underlying heart issues. Midway through the match, he suddenly collapsed from a massive heart attack. Tragically, both Juventud and the referee initially believed he was simply selling the moment, causing critical delays in getting him help. Silver King died on the spot at just 51 years old. His passing left fans devastated and served as a stark reminder of the harsh price that sometimes comes with unrelenting passion. The deaths of these wrestlers remain a reminder that behind every match are real human beings, willing to sacrifice everything for the audience. Let us honor them, the warriors who fell, so that their passion may live on through time.